Hi, and welcome back to another episode of Make My Food Awesome. If you're new here, go ahead and pop down to that subscribe button, hit subscribe, and then you can share it with your friends and family, and they can put it out on their social media apps. It's actually pretty sunny outside, wouldn't you say?
It is. It's quite nice. A little cold,
A
but
little cold.
nice and sunny.
It's better than yesterday. Yesterday we had some rain, but that's all right because that rain comes down into our earth, and then it travels to our plants.
Which
And
they need to grow.
exactly. And that goes along with today's episode. We're actually going to be talking about harvesting and drying. And then I guess we're going to be talking about grinding these herbs up and
For later use, yeah.
Exactly. So that we can put it in our delicious foods.
Yeah. So plants are pretty special, or herbs, because they can actually make their own food, unlike you and I.
I actually can make my own food.
Yeah, in the kitchen, but not in your cells.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Well, in fact, photosynthesis actually takes place during the daytime as well as the nighttime. During the day, carbon dioxide and water are activated by sunlight, and that busts the water apart. During the nighttime, that hydrogen from the water then combines with your carbon dioxide gas to make, ta-da, sugar or glucose.
Gotcha.
That glucose is the plant's food. Then the oxygen gas is kind of like a waste gas. The plant really has no use for it. Gets pushed out through the leaves of the plant into the air, which you and I kind of need to breathe. And that's how photosynthesis works. Now, the whole point of me telling you this is that the best time to pick your herbs or harvest them from your garden is in the morning. The reason being is that, well, the sugar levels and the flavor levels in your herbs are at their peak, which means you get the best flavor from your herbs that you grew.
So I have a question. So if I go out and I get some fresh basil outside in the morning and I freeze it in some ice cubes for later, is it still going to have that concentrated sugar level?
It sure is. What you're going to do is actually like trap it in there at its peak. So when you freeze it, it should stop any deterioration, obviously, of those chemicals, which gives you the flavor that you want. So when it comes time to use it in your soups or broths or whatever dish you want, it should be good to go.
Gotcha. Okay. That's awesome. So what's going to happen now is I'm actually going to step behind the camera for a little bit, and Trisha's going to show you guys how to do everything from taking the herbs, drying them,
Harvesting them and then
grinding them
prepping
up.
them when they're dry.
Exactly. So
Yep.
Let's get going.
All right. Hi, like we talked about earlier, it's time to harvest your herbs. The first thing you're going to want to make sure that you have is a pair of sharp kitchen shears that will aid in cutting your herb. Second thing is you want to look at your herb and make a choice of where you want to do your cuttings from. You want to make sure that you don't kill the plant and that you promote more growth. So let's take a look at my thyme here. We got plenty of good spots to make some snippings. Oh, here we go. This is a good spot. Carefully remove it. See that nice snipping? We should go wash these. You're going to lightly wash your cut herbs. Now you're going to bring them to a towel. You want to lightly pat them dry. They don't need to be perfectly dry, just enough so they're not dripping. See? Now you're going to take some twine off the spool, kind of eyeballing how much you think you're going to need to wrap around the edges of where you cut your herbs. With your sharp kitchen shears, make your cut. Now you're going to place your binding underneath. Make sure when you're binding your herbs, you can use butcher's string or you could use a rubber band, but tie it very tightly. You need to remember that as these dry, they're going to shrink. And you don't want them to fall out of your binding onto the floor during their drying period. So this is what you want it to look like once you've done your binding. Find yourself a good sturdy hanger, and you can use clips or paper clips, whatever you have laying around the house, to attach your clippings to your drying station. Making sure that you spread out each of your bundles so they're not touching during the drying process. That way you're going to get the best results. At this point, you're going to make sure that you find a nice dry, dark, cool place to hang these anywhere from 1 to 3 months, depending on the herbs that you cut and the thickness of the herb bundle. When they're ready, then we can process them for drying and grind them for storage. Now that your herbs are dried, you can use one of two things. You can use a pestle and mortar to crush and grind your herbs to your liking, or you can use a spice grinder. Today, we're going to be using the spice grinder. So now we're going to go to our dry herbs and we're going to cut pieces and parts off of it to put into our grinder. Being careful to snip all of your dried parts so you leave nothing behind. Now what you're going to do is you're going to take your dried herb branch and you're going to hold it over your spice container. In doing this, you're going to carefully crumble all the leaves that you want to go into the spice grinder so you can process all those yummy herbs that you grew over the summer. Now, sometimes it's hard not to get the stem inside, but that's okay. It's all part of the grinding process. It will be adding flavor to your container. Once you have removed all of the leaves and the parts from your dried herbs that you would like to grind up, you're going to want to start by putting the top on, making sure that it's locked into place, and you either can pulse or hold your button down depending on how fine of a grind that you want done on your herbs. So here we go. So let's remove the top and see what we have. That looks like a good consistency for parsley. Now, the next process that you're going to go through is putting it into a clean, dry glass container. You can choose different sizes and shapes from your local store. Lots of fun and cute little things. I like to use a funnel when I pour it in, that way I don't dump it all over my countertop. Now, once all my herbs are inside, I'm going to close my top. Then I will make a label for it and put it in my storage collection for later use.